Hey everybody, I figured I would do a review on my 2016 Polaris RZR. It's a 900 with power steering. I know I tend to come to YouTube a lot for reviews and information and get people's opinions on things before I make a purchase, especially a large purchase. Even smaller things, sometimes I'll check it out and see the good, bad, and the ugly of something that I may be considering buying, and also for troubleshooting and to see if people are having the same issues, good or bad, as I am with things. And I figure it's time to maybe give a little bit back and share some of my thoughts on this machine. I've had it for just over a month now. I have put about 800 kilometers on it already, or about 500 and some odd miles. So I have a fair opinion of the good and the bad of it. I can't attest to what the longevity is going to be like. I haven't had it that long yet, but so far so good with it anyways. A little bit of a preface before we start here. The RZRs come in a lot of different models. Everything from a 570 base model right up to, I believe, a 1000 turbo. I mean, they can get pretty crazy. I think the most important thing to remember with something like this is purchase the RZR that you want and the one that suits your needs. My personal needs, for example, I love trail riding. I live in Ontario, Canada, and we have a place where I ride called the Ganaraska Forest, or where I mainly ride. It's 11,000 acres, and there are trails galore. Like, it's you can go all day and never touch the same trail twice. It's awesome. Having said that, a lot of the trails are tight. So I came from a quad. I had a Polaris 500 Sportsman Touring, which was awesome. I loved it. And there was a lot of trails we used to hit with that, and I wanted to stay on those same trails. Main reason I went with the RZR is because my wife and I used to like going out on the Sportsman, but we got a little bit sick of having, driver in front, passenger in back. It's hard to communicate, and you just feel disconnected from the person. It's almost like you're just, towing some luggage kind of behind you. You don't feel like you're there with somebody. Whereas with this machine, my wife and I sit in it side by side, and if we want to rip up some trails or some whoop-de-doos or moguls or what have you, that's great. If we want to go slow and just sightsee, that's fine too. You can throw stuff in the back, stop for lunch, do whatever. It's a more engaged feeling when you're with somebody in this. So having said that, that's the main reason I went with the Trail model. It's 50 inches wide. Actually, if you measure it, I think it's 51, but they advertise it as 50. But nonetheless, it goes down 99% of the trails that my quad would. And anything that it won't seem to go down, it's not that the machine isn't capable. It's more than capable. It's it tends to be the roof and the roll cage that gets in the way, if anything. I find that the wheels will fit between most obstacles, but if you have a trail that's a little bit off camber and it wants to lean the machine, if there's a tree beside there, it'll tend to want to tip the roof into the tree. And when I say tip, I don't mean the machine will tip over, but when it leans, you can imagine the roll bars or whatever up here, when these lean out into a tree, it's not pretty. So you got to be careful that way. Other than that, it'll go everywhere that the quad would and more. So I figured I would do a little review here, let you guys know my findings so far, and you can make your own decision from there. So as I said, I decided to go with the 50-inch 900. I had looked at the 570s. They seem like a quite capable machine. I just had a fear that I would get the 570, probably love it for a month or two, and then think, why didn't I get the 900? I don't know that would have happened. I didn't go that route, but I tend to like my power, and I like to step on it now and then, and this thing flies. So I think I'm happy. I don't see any need for any more power for where I ride. In my trails, if you can get, going 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, you're booking her along pretty good. So I don't see the need to have any more power. If you were somebody that was out on some sand dunes or in a desert or in an area that required a higher speed, You may want the 1000, you may want the high lifter edition or the 60-inch model or whatever. You're going to have your own reasons for choosing what you choose. But in the trails, this thing has more than enough power, and it works good. So the 900 EPS version, which this is, comes with a few options, I guess, that come as part of the package. The first being the power steering. Obviously, that's what the EPS stands for. The power steering works really good so far. I've had no issues. Having said that, I have not driven one without power steering. And as I'll get to in a minute, the power steering is not the only part of the EPS package. There's more to it than that. Mind you, I do get down some tight trails, and like I said, sometimes there'll be a tree down or it just gets too tight, and I realize it's a single track trail that's made for dirt bikes, and you got to get out of there somehow. And I've done, you know, as my wife would say, a 20-point turn at times, and that power steering comes in handy. It would have been an arm breaker otherwise. So it's nice to have, and like I said, I haven't driven one without, but this one so far works flawlessly. Also, part of the power steering model, the EPS model, is the plastics are painted. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but this red, I think it's called Havaso red. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's a metallic red. That's an actual automotive paint. The plastics are not molded red. I believe they're black underneath. But I think it'll hold up good. Automotive paint, if you get light scratches or scuffs on it, you should be able to buff it out. You should be able to hit it with a wax and so on and clean it up a little bit. Once the paint's scraped off, you can't help that. But I don't think it'll mark up as easy as just plain plastics. Time will tell. Also part of the power steering package is the aluminum rims. They're not real fancy, but they are aluminum. They're not steel. My steel rims on my quad, I was constantly bending the beads and so on from hitting, you know, rocks and stumps. And now you obviously try not to, but you can't miss everything. So far, I've got no bends or breaks on these, thankfully. I do have one little scuff on one of them. I can't remember which one, but I think they'll be more durable. I think they'll last a little longer and stand up. Also on the power steering model is turf mode. So on the dash switch here we have 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, and turf mode. And what turf mode is, for those of you that don't know, is the rear differential in this machine is, you can lock it and you can unlock it. So when the machine, normally I drive in just 2-wheel drive. Both rear wheels are locked. That's your normal mode. That's what a quad would be in 2-wheel drive, most quads. And it's fun. You hit it in the corner and the rear end will slide out, and it's fun to play with and so on. 4-wheel drive, that's pretty self-explanatory. All 4 wheels kick in. It is an on-demand 4-wheel drive system. The front wheels do not actually engage until the rear wheels spin, I believe, 1/5 of a turn more than the front. It's a pretty complex system, but it seems to work really well. It's seamless. I've never felt it kick in or out, but it's always gripped and pulled me up hills, and all 4 wheels definitely do engage, no problem there. So turf mode, what that's all about is the rear axle. If both wheels are locked and they're both spinning together, and you're trying to turn really tight, whether it be on grass, on pavement, or anything like that, it's hard, because when you turn in a circle or any sort of radius, the one wheel is going to need to spin faster than the other, and if they're locked, that's not going to work so well. Turf mode unlocks it, so it's only 1-wheel drive. In all honesty, I don't know which wheel it is that drives. I believe it's the right side, so the passenger side. Nonetheless, you do feel a marked difference when you put it in turf mode and you're pulling a U-turn, whether it be in a trail, on pavement, anywhere, on your lawn. It doesn't tear up the grass. It just turns so much easier. You don't feel that binding that you would from a locked differential. I don't use turf mode often unless I'm doing a tight turn or if I'm on pavement. If I have to do a short run on the road, I'll put it in turf mode just to save the tires. Tires aren't cheap and there's no point in wearing them out. So I don't ride much on the road anyways, but it's nice to know it's there. Another thing with the power steering that goes kind of along with the turf mode is supposedly the front differential is a little quicker engaging in the all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. I don't know that to be a fact. I've read it on some forums and I've heard it on some videos. I don't know the specs on why that is, but it doesn't sound like it would be a bad thing either way. So the 900 comes with the ProStar twin cylinder engine. I believe it's rated at 75 horsepower. This is my first RZR. It's my first side-by-side. I can't compare it to other ones. This is just my personal opinion on this machine. So please no hate mail from, you know, the competitors. This thing seems plenty fast. It's got lots of torque. It did take a little bit of getting used to the first ride. It took me about a half an hour to get used to just the way the transmission is. It almost sounds like the machine is trying to rev. Once you get used to it, it's deceiving. It's really not revving. It just kind of sounds like it is, but when you get your foot into it and you hear the motor kick in and you get the throaty sound, you realize that you weren't revving as high as you thought you were at first. And after, like I say, about a half hour of riding, it just sounds normal to me now. There's no problem. And I've watched videos and read on the forums and so on, and it's normal, and everybody says the same thing, that you will get used to it, you know, in no time at all. The engine is quite accessible. In the back, there's a hatch here. It's pretty easy to remove. I'm doing it with one hand, so it's a little tricky. And everything is there. Let me sit down the cover here. Your air filter box. These two straps come off. That pops off. The air filter's in there, nice and easy to get at. You can see your plugs are easy to get at. Your oil fill. Your throttle body, everything is easily accessible. One thing to kind of note that I thought was neat is this machine is totally drive-by-wire. There is no throttle cable. There is a throttle, I don't know if it's called an actuator or a motor, that controls the throttle body back here. Obviously your fuel injectors are up in here. And where the accelerator is, or the gas pedal, there's like a switch, I guess, on that too. And long story short, it's all wire. There's no cable. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but it is what it is. I can't do anything about it. At first, it made me a little leery because I thought, geez, if one of those wires or something happens, are you going to be left stuck? But everything's electronic nowadays. Everything's computer controlled. You're not going to stop, you know, technology from moving forward. So time will tell how that lasts. Like I say, so far I've had zero issues with that. So speaking of accessibility, I just reviewed the engine really quickly and very basically. I didn't get into a whole lot, but I did my first service on this about a week ago, I guess now, and it was super simple. My quad was a royal pain, to be honest with you, to get at the oil filter. Because it was a dry sump system, you had to pinch the lines and reprime the system when you change your oil. It was quite an ordeal. This thing, it's just like changing the oil in your car, really only simpler. The oil filter and the dipstick and everything, I'm not gonna be able to do it with one hand here, but it is behind this panel, right there behind the seat. It pops off. You don't need to take the seats out or anything. And in there is the oil filter, the dipstick. The drain plug is easily accessible underneath. I just literally put it up on ramps, drained the oil, changed the filter, refilled it. In 15 minutes you can be done. I recommend while you're under there doing that, give everything a good grease, look things over, make sure nothing's bent, broken, no sticks, twigs, or anything stuck somewhere where they might rub a hole in a CV boot or something. But super simple to maintain, and the grease fittings were all very accessible, no issues there. Under the hood, once again, very accessible. There's your coolant reservoir, nice and easy to get at. An accessory block, I can discuss a little more of that later. I did install a winch, you can see it down in there. It wasn't too bad to do. I've heard people complain and say, oh, it's such a tight fit and so on. And yeah, you're not going to throw it in there. You got to kind of wiggle around a bit, but I didn't have to take a wheel off or anything. Like you're not going to get much simpler than that. Anytime you can install something major like that and not even have to take a front tire off, I can't complain too much. You can just get away with turning the wheels to the left and sliding it in and turning them back to the right, and away you go. So can't complain too much about that. It's I believe a Supermax winch. I don't know if that's a popular brand in the States or not, but up here it seems to be fairly common. It's sold at Royal Distributing. I think it was $249 for 3,500 pound with wireless remote and all the goodies. So far I haven't had to use it. I've tested it and it works, but I haven't had to use it, so that's a good thing in my books. So I know this video I'm kind of jumping around all over the place with my commentary, and I apologize. I'm certainly not a professional at this. I'm definitely not a professional video photographer or anything like that, so I'm just trying to get to the nuts and bolts of it for you. So once again, I apologize for that. The cockpit of this RZR, I find very comfy. I have a little bit of weight to me. I'm not a tiny person. I'm a little bit on the shorter side, but I have tons of room in there. My wife and I sit inside. I've had a buddy of mine in there with me. It's about the same size as me, and you're not on top of one another. You're quite comfortable. At first when I thought, oh, a 50-inch RZR, it's only 2 inches wider than my quad. How are two of us going to fit inside? And I don't know. It works. I can't explain it. It does. Obviously, if you're looking to buy one of these, you're going to sit in one at the dealership and so on and see if it works for you. And for me, it definitely does. It's very comfy. I added these door bags. There's a picture of the passenger side. Actually, I can show you the driver's right here. This is handy for putting your wallet in, your keys. If you smoke, you put your cigarettes in, whatever. I have my little USB charger for my phone, everything in there. I don't think they're waterproof, but I can wash this and leave everything in there and nothing gets wet. I'm sure if you held a hose on that zipper long enough, stuff's going to get in there, but you got to just use common sense. This front piece here is actually just a padded piece, and when you're sitting inside the vehicle, your knee will naturally want to rest against the door, and it stops your knee from banging off the door. Before then, I never had my knee hitting off the door, or it didn't bother me, but I could feel that it was lightly touching. So I imagine you get down some rough trails and bang around, and eventually you are going to end up with a sore knee, and that totally eliminated that. I think they were like 65 bucks or something for the pair. I can't remember. It wasn't much anyways. It was good. Now, having said that, these particular ones, they're made by a company called Rig Gear. Excellent quality. I have no issues. They're supposed to be pretty much plug and play, where you just put in these little push pins and it holds them on the door. They didn't have models made or available yet for the RZR Trail. So these are for the 1000. They were the closest fit, so I did have to drill holes in my door. That's nothing to do with the company. That's not their fault. I bought them obviously for a different vehicle, and I knew that. But I didn't want to wait, it might be another year before they design some that come out for this model. So I did what I had to do, and they got the job done. Okay, back to the inside. The passenger side, there's a grab handle for the passenger. Most people I find that sit with me, I don't ride really crazy. I'm not into a bunch of jumps and stuff like that. They just kind of rest their hands on there. It's something to kind of lean on. But having said that, in the event of a rollover or even some high-speed maneuvering, it's good. It's solid to grip. It's not going to go anywhere. It is adjustable as well. I don't know if you can see the holes there, but it's adjustable to 3 or 4 different positions. So if you want it in closer to the dash so that when you're sitting, your arms are straight out more, that's fine. This one pretty well is in the full back position. It's about as close to the passenger as the steering wheel is to the driver, so it's fairly comfortable. The gauge cluster, I can go over that a little bit later. It's you can set it from kilometers to miles per hour, whatever you want. It has a trip, what's it called? A trip meter on it. Has your hours. You can set it so that after so many hours, a little wrench will come on letting you know it's time to change the oil. It has a clock. It has your fuel gauge. Any information that you would want is right there. 12-volt outlet. That socket is live all the time. So even when the machine's not running, that is on, which, it can be good or bad depending on what you do with it. But for example, if I'm stopped for 10 minutes to have a drink of water or whatever, I'll leave my cell phone plugged in there. A cell phone is not going to kill the battery in this unless you leave it in there for about a week maybe, but just to keep things going, it's nice to have it on. Obviously your key ignition, your turf mode selector and 4-wheel drive. Headlight switch, you can turn the headlights off on this if you want. Middle position is on, top position is high beam. Whenever I'm in the trails, I always have my headlights on low. It's
the best way to give a dirt bike rider or somebody a heads up that you're coming, at least hopefully they'll see it and avoid a collision. So far I've had no issues. And there's a little cubby down here. Some people call it a cell phone holder, some people just call it a cubby, whatever. It's just a little storage unit. It has a drainage hole in the bottom so that when you wash it out, water doesn't build up in there. It's handy for throwing gloves in and so on. I think I'll probably use it eventually to mount a GPS. Some people have a stereo in their machines. I don't really find the need for that, but a GPS is certainly handy. And then you can see down here is my winch control that I mounted. I also mounted a Tusk rear view mirror. I think it was like 35 bucks, and it was the best $35 I've spent. That thing is so handy for listening for dirt bikes coming up behind you. If you're riding in a group, it's good to know that your buddies are still hanging in there and nobody's dropped off and so on. I highly recommend that. The only other thing I added, and I had the dealer do it because they gave me a pretty good deal on it, was the Polaris lock and ride roof. Now, I don't know why it's called lock and ride, to be honest with you, because I get that the front end snaps on and so on, but you have to use still a wrench to unbolt it from the back. So it's still bolted on. It's not like it's something you can take off, you know, on the trailer in the woods. I don't know why you would want to anyways, but nonetheless, it's been good. It's been pretty durable. There's been a lot of branches go banging off that thing, so I'd rather them hit the roof than me. So that's done its job so far. The factory tires that come on this machine seem pretty much a perfect combination for my style of riding. I drive on most of the trails are just general soil, obviously like topsoil. For the most part hard pack, but there is a lot of sandy areas. And obviously when Polaris, you know, builds a machine and puts a certain type of tire on it, they don't know what each person is going to use. If you're driving sand all the time or mud all the time, you're going to want a more aggressive tire. If you're driving pure hard packed or even some roads, you're going to want more of an automotive type tire. This for me seems to be all around. It seems to work good. So it's a very happy medium, I find. There's no issues there. The transmission belt cover right here behind the driver's rear wheel. I don't know if this video is showing it very good or not, but it looks like it's easy to get at. Like I say, I got about 800 kilometers on this machine now. I would like to take the belt cover off one day soon, give it a clean out in there, make sure everything's good. And some people recommend buying a new belt, swapping it out, you know, right about now, putting it on and keeping the old one as a backup that's already been broken in. It also gives you a chance to try changing the belt in the comfort of your own home and not at the side of a trail when you're broke down somewhere. It's probably a good idea. Whether I'll ever get around to it, I don't know, but it seems like sound advice. As far as accessibility for cleaning this machine, obviously it takes longer to clean than a quad does. There's a lot more to it. But really, it's not terrible. Most of my riding is dust. You can see a little bit of dust on my belt cover there. I didn't give it a very good cleaning this time out. I just got home today. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just a matter of taking your time. You're not going to do it in 20 minutes. I mean, to give it a proper cleaning takes a good hour and a half by the time you hose it off, give it a bath with some soap and water, and then I like taking an air hose and just blowing the standing water out. I've never found standing water to be a good thing for anything. And, you know, it seems to work okay. I enjoy cleaning it. That's part of my rest and relaxation. Okay, so part of the nice thing about cleaning these machines and or maintaining them is that the seats come out of them so easy. It's easier to get the seat out of these than it is off a quad, I find. Mind you, mine was a touring quad, so I had to remove the rear seat, and then the front, I had a touring box on the back, which made it a bit of a pain too. But for these, there's one little lever. Oops, man, it's hard to do this with one hand. That's it right there. I'm showing it with my foot. That's the lever that you lift. So you stick your hand in through the back of the seat right here. You squeeze, and the seat lifts right out. That simple. You can do it with one hand. So this is the driver's seat out. Once again, pardon the dirt back here. Usually it's much cleaner than this. This machine comes with an automotive size battery. That battery is about the size of a battery that is in a small to mid-sized car, which to me has to be better than the small motorcycle batteries. I think it would last a lot longer. It'll take more cycles. It'll last longer with a winch, I would assume, just because of the size of it, obviously. Behind this panel, where it says caution, do not pressure wash behind cover, is where your main computer is. I don't know if you can see it. Yep, there it is, nice and dry and clean. And under here, there's a second little storage area here. I use it for a spare quart of oil, some tire slime, some tools, a tire repair kit, and so on. Some people put in a second battery. I don't think, for me, I don't think I need a second battery. If you're running a big light bar and a stereo and a bunch of accessories, it certainly isn't going to hurt to have a second battery in there. But for me, the only accessory I really run is my winch, and then I may have a GPS plugged in. And I think electrically, that's probably going to be it. So that should be minimal load. Obviously, when you're using a winch, you want the machine running and keep your RPMs up, because those things take a lot of power. So, but other than that, I'm not going to have any big draws on it. Your fuse block, it's right here. It's all labeled. There are spare fuses in there. It's a water, I don't want to say waterproof, but a water resistant cover. It does have quite an impressive seal on it. Here's the spot I was talking about before. So there's your oil filter, your dipstick. Right there, you're not going to get much handier than that as far as having easy accessibility to something. There's a nice console in here with two cup holders. Having said that, there is your what do you call it? Your coolant lines run front to back through that console, because obviously the radiator's in the front, your engine is in the back. The cup holders do get a little warm. Great for if you have coffee in there, I guess. But if you have water bottles in there, not so much. So what I did, I would show you, but it's a big ordeal. I had to take the console off. I flipped it over. It's held on mostly by push pins and a couple of bolts. It's really not a super big deal. It takes you longer to get the shifter boots off than anything else. But anyways, I took it out, I flipped it over, and I put some insulation under there. I used the type that's, I don't have it out here right now, but it's like a aluminum tinfoily shiny insulation with almost like an air bubble plastic inside it. There's nothing in there that's going to catch fire. That's not like there's anything that hot, but once again, you got hot antifreeze running through the lines. It's going to heat up the water. So I put that in there, and it's gotten 100 times better. The water will still get warm over the course of a day. It's going to get up to whatever the temperature is outside. There's, you can't help that. But the machine itself is not physically trying to boil your water while it's sitting there, because that kind of defeats the purpose. The steering does tilt up and down, so you got accessibility. You've got movement there. It's easier to get in and out. The driver's seat is adjustable. There's a lever on the front right there that will allow you to move the seat forward and back, just like a car. The passenger seat is not adjustable in that respect. It is adjustable if you take the seat out. There's bolts underneath, and you can move it forward or back. So it's a one-time thing if you want, but every time somebody gets in and out, you're not going to be adjusting it. I just kind of left it where it is. Most people would rather have the leg room. They don't need to be sitting up close to the dash. There's really no reason for that. My one complaint I do have, and it's very, very, very minor, is they don't give you anywhere to mount the license plate. So here's mine mounted to the roll bar with tie wraps, which, for the money you pay for a machine like this, you think they would give you a bloody license plate bracket somewhere. I mean, the dealer said some people just drill a hole in the roof and mount it there, and I was trying to do it without drilling holes in anything, and that's about the best I could come up with for now. I think over the winter I'll grab a license plate bracket of some sort and bolt it to there so it looks a little more professional than the tie wraps. But it gets a job done and it hasn't fallen off yet, so that's good. As far as ground clearance, once again, this machine is totally stock. I've done nothing to it mechanically other than oil and lube and filter. If you look, I believe it says there's 11.5 inches ground clearance. I haven't actually measured it. There's lift kits readily available. There are wheel spacers readily available. I'm on the fence as to whether I want to do any of that for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you look at the axles, they're pretty straight. They're at a pretty good angle right now, which the straighter they are, the less wear you're going to have. I mean, the higher the angle, the more issues you're going to have down the road. Would a little bit more clearance be nice? Sure, why not? And would a little bit wider stance be nice? I'm sure it would look good, and it would probably give you a little more stability. But I bought the machine for trails. Today I was actually down a trail that got a little bit tight, and as you can see, it took a little bit of paint off there. So, you know, do I want to make it wider so that it looks better and then not be able to fit down the trails? I'm kind of defeating the purpose of why I bought the machine and what I bought it for. So I'm thinking at this point I'm going to leave it stock. I know those are famous last words, and nobody ever does that, but we'll see. And as far as a lift kit, a little bit of clearance wouldn't hurt, a little more obviously. But I worry about, right now I want it reliable. I don't want to have things breaking. I just like riding and washing it and then going back out the next weekend and doing the same thing. So right now it's looking like I'm going to leave it this way. If I don't, I'll post another video and let you know. But right now that's the way I'm leaning. There's lots of accessories I'd like to add, such as a storage box in the back and, like I said, a GPS and stuff like that. But mechanically, I'm a big one for reliability. I love working on my machines, but I don't like fixing them when they break down. That irks me. I'd rather just have a machine I can get in, turn the key, and go. So anyways, hopefully this was helpful to everybody. If you have any questions, leave some in the comments. I'll try to answer the best I can. Once again, I am not an expert on these machines at all. I am new to the side-by-side world. So far, I love it. I highly recommend the RZR. Once again, I haven't driven the competitors. I'm sure they're all good machines. I know CF Moto makes one, and Arctic Cat, and Yamaha. There's a bunch. They're all out there. But I've heard good things about Polaris. My quad was a Polaris. I have no issues. This thing is more than capable. Tons of power. Rides good. Everything seems great. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Like I say, leave a message in the comments, and I'll try to answer any questions. All right. Thanks for watching.